a true educational elitist, the recipient of the Oakland County's 2014 Top 40 Under 40 list. We have an amazing educator here in front of us. Could you please tell the world your name, your profession, and what you do here at the college?
Yes, again, my name is Lloyd and I currently serve as the Dean of Campus Affairs at Oakland Community College at the Southfield campus. I've been an administrator at OCC for more than 12 years and in higher education for more than 15 years. And have a background in both political science as well as education, and hold a doctorate in educational leadership and policy studies from Wayne State University.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's a track record that's even going to get longer, you know, because I understand that you are the founder of the Man Up organization here on campus. And could you tell us what prompted you to begin that organization, or what made you say this is important?
Yes. A few years ago, we saw that we had a critical need in terms of our male student success here on campus. We had a number of students that would start in the fall and taking courses, and it seemed like by the third or fourth week of class, most of the male students seemed to drop out for whatever reason. And we wanted to investigate that to see if there was any way that we could try to help them to remedy that situation. And so we started out having some discussion with some of the male students that were persisting here on campus, identified some barriers that we felt that some of the young men were experiencing, and we felt it'd be beneficial for us to develop a mentoring program, which we ultimately then started to work with high school students as early as 10th grade to start to work with them to try to eliminate these barriers, so that by the time they even got to college, that they would be ready, college ready, and hopefully persist to a greater degree. At the same time, we still maintained a Man Up student club on the campus too, so there was a track for students to start as early as 10th grade and then follow all the way through their years at Oakland Community College with a male support system here at the college to ensure their success.
Very, very, very pertinent, very pertinent. Now, speaking of Man Up, we know the very first president of the college-based Man Up program was Greg Anderson.
Yes.
And I know initially, you know, because of you guys' very conflicting and busy schedules, you weren't able to meet, you know, as soon as you might like to. So did you hear, and if you did hear, what sort of things did you hear about Greg, you know, before you were able really to experience him as a professional?
Sure. First, I would say that it's very difficult to start and maintain student clubs, particularly at a community college. We don't have a residential life, so we don't have students that stay here on campus, and most of them commute back and forth. So to get people to stick around and commit to a club is one that's very difficult. But Greg was one individual that stepped up to the plate and went above and beyond the call of duty in terms of wanting to see Man Up grow and sustain over the years in which it has. And so I commend his initiative in stepping up to the plate, taking a leadership role in terms of going out and recruiting young guys and creating and developing sessions and workshops for them to come to that they found applicable to their needs, and helping to retain that group and sustain it over time. And so, in fact, his leadership has helped to sustain not only the campus club at the Orchard Ridge campus, but to reignite other clubs at other campuses at Royal Oak as well as Southfield.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That cross campus, you know, relationship, you know, it really just builds the educational bond that we all need.
Absolutely.
So, speaking, you know, of you guys' first relationship, I understand that Greg also was an instructor at the high school Man Up edition in 2013.
That's correct.
And so during that time, could you speak about his work ethic, or, you know, maybe how the students responded to him, or how you felt about, you know, working with him, and what was the results of that?
Sure. In our conversations, and as Greg inquired more about the Saturday program with the high school students, he was very intrigued by it initially and volunteered his time to that effort. He said anything that we needed to do, needed from him, he would be there for us to support us. And, you know, people say that a lot, but Greg truly meant what he said. And in fact, during that time, he came every Saturday morning, many days before I even got here. He had the room set up, and he volunteered his time to mentor these young guys, because, again, these were high school students on their way to college. He was a current college student at the time on his way out of Oakland Community College, but was able to impart a great deal of wisdom to these young men, both academically as well as personally. He's a very down-to-earth gentleman. He's credible to the young men, And he is he truly embodies what we mean when we talk about man up. He's someone that takes responsibility for himself and his time, and he showed that to these young men by his willingness to serve throughout that weekend experience with those young guys. And so he truly did. When I say he volunteered, he did. We weren't able to compensate him financially. He said his compensation came in the work that he was able to do with the young men and seeing their growth over the 12-week program.
That's special. That's special. And obviously, the example you set and the opportunities that you give out, pay dividends, because we both know that the next year he came back as a featured speaker, and when you talked about, having a sense of urgency as far as your education. Right. And could you speak on how maybe the students' feedback worked, for that speech? How did they react to it?
Well, yeah, let me say, I think that was one of the proudest moments, if you will, for me in terms of watching Greg come through as the president of a student club, then as a volunteer, as a instructor as part of the course, and then to come back as a featured facilitator. And every week we have a featured facilitator as part of that program that we bring in. And so to see him go from being the student club president to our speaker was an awesome experience. Greg came in and was very well received, as I mentioned before, and having had experience in working with that Saturday group the year prior, he knew what he was coming into, and it can be difficult to manage a classroom full of high school young men.
Yeah.
But he had no problem with it and coming in, and again, I think the relevancy of his topics were such that it caught the students' attention right away. They were very participatory, and the feedback that we got back on it was ultimately positive, to the point that we definitely want to retain Greg to come back again and maybe do more than one session on next year.
That's cool. Just to continue that growth, that compounding.
Absolutely.
That's definitely what you strive for. Anytime, any field you work in, somebody want to call you back. That's cool.
Absolutely.
So just to wrap up, okay, Greg, as an empowerment specialist and just as an aid for all students worldwide, would you recommend him, to come and give speeches as far as more student development ventures, as you said, a program like Man Up High School Edition or even something else? And if you would recommend him for other ventures in that field, why would you?
Right. Well, first of all, I've gotten a chance to know Greg, and we've developed a relationship, and I've had a chance to talk to him personally on a wide array of topics, and he's presented me with a number of sessions that he has in mind to present that I think are very versatile, that will meet the needs of various organizations and institutions. So I would say for any nonprofit organization, for any school, Boys and Girls Club, or anything like that that's looking at developing youth, that he would have a product that would be one that would be well received by both students, maybe in the K-12 area, as well as in the college and the collegiate realm as well. So he has flexible presentation skills and topics, again, that would fit the needs of most organizations. So I would highly recommend his services.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, once again, I feel privileged to be able to sit in front of a man of your stature and be able to converse with you. So thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.